We've gotten to a point now where we know if a shock is going to work or not before we actually put it in a bike. And it doesn't matter who we're buying it off. So we've bought some shocks off some pretty big names, and we test them and we can make a determination on how we think the shock will perform. I always find it's very important to not tell the person who's buying it what we actually think of it, because it just gives them a bit of unconscious bias that we don't want. I want to hear from them what they actually think. And then if they come back to us and say, this shock doesn't really work how I thought it would, I can talk to them about the external adjustability of it and how they could use that to improve it. But ultimately, if I know the shock really needs work, then we normally work it out early. So it really depends on what the shock is going to be used for. We also have an unusual situation in this country. We tend to use adventure bikes far harder than anyone else does in the world, because the country's bigger. We've got bigger distances, we've got bigger roads, we've got more corrugations, we travel longer distances. So we find a lot of the product that should work, it just doesn't. We ended up from a workshop end doing adventure bikes more because it's an interesting market. It's something that has a real Aussie angle to it, because Aussies tend to get adventure bikes and just use them much harder. So in Europe, in countries like Belgium and Germany and France, they don't really have adventure bike areas, or if they do, they're not that big. They don't have endless corrugations, they don't have culverts and washouts and woo boys, and they don't have the Victorian high country, and they don't have just sitting on a bike at high speed for hours on end. They just don't do it. So what we find, anything out of Europe is always much more angled towards touring and comfort. What we do in Australia, European suspension manufacturers have described to me as motocross. And I've told them, it's not motocross, this is just how we ride adventure bikes. And they will say to me, if the wheels leave the ground, it's motocross. And I've said, we've got a completely different idea of what an adventure bike is. So here, an adventure bike, its wheels need to leave the ground pretty often. And we obviously have different customers with different needs. Some of them will say, I don't jump things. Some of them will say, I occasionally jump things if I'm just coming up on them a bit fast. Others will say, oh yeah, I jump every spoon drain I can find. So they're all a bit different. The Yamaha Tenere, as an example, we've been getting really good results using largely OEM internals. And we've been doing that now for 5 years. But what we wanted to do was go a bit better and actually produce a kit that our dealers could just buy and the public can just buy. So they can get all of our R&D expertise in a kit and just buy it. So that's what a lot of our kits are. They're saying, rather than sending the suspension to us, you can just buy it as a kit from us.